I guess winter's over until it snows about a week from now or so.
Our job here at the League of Cities is to help our members become successful in whatever they're trying to do in their cities. How do we know what's most important to our residents? You're never going to have 100% agreement on anything. For most people out there, city government is far more complex than you realize. Even in small town Iowa, the cities are doing way more than most residents realize on a day-to-day basis.
Welcome to Leading Iowa, Good Government in Iowa Cities. I'm Dave Martin. With me, as always, is my co-host, the former president of the Iowa League of Cities and the mayor of Dubuque, Brad Cavanagh. Brad, good to see you again.
Good morning, Dave. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing out there in Dubuque, Iowa? How's the winter treating you?
We're just doing great. Winter left. It left, and we had a record high yesterday. So I guess winter's over until it snows about a week from now or so.
All right. And how is good government progressing in Dubuque?
Good government's going really well.
Are we making progress?
We're having a great old time over here. Yeah. There's always progress being made. That's for sure.
Everything's good. No problems. Everything's wonderful in Dubuque.
None. Zero. Absolutely no problems whatsoever. Yeah. It's really kind of amazing. I wouldn't have expected this, but here we are.
Fantastic. You're a couple of months into your second term as mayor, and you've solved everything. Yeah. And so you're just going to coast for the next 3 years.
I'm thinking about canceling most of the meetings coming up. I just don't think we have much else to do. So.
Well, that probably sounds like good government to a lot of people. Who are we talking to today?
So we're talking to Mickey Shields today, the deputy director from the Iowa League of Cities. Mickey, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you both for having me.
Mickey, good to see you again. Welcome to Leading Iowa. You have been with us from the beginning in the background, so thanks for keeping the show alive. Good to have you with us.
It's truly my honor to be on this wonderful show of yours, and I'm a listener, subscriber, so getting to talk with you guys is just another level up.
All right.
Well, long-time listener, first-time guest.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, good.
So, Mickey, it's interesting. I've been thinking about having you on the show, and it's great to have you here because, once I got into local government, ever since I, was elected to city council and got to know everybody working in local government throughout the state, I don't think I've met a single person who doesn't know Mickey Shields in some way. I mean, you have just been everywhere. But my first question really is I just thought we'd start with, who's Mickey Shields? I mean, how did you give us a little bit about yourself? How'd you get here and what you're doing? I'd love to hear some of that history.
You kind of put me on a pedestal there, Mayor Cavanagh. So I'm going to have to tear myself down here to make sure everyone understands I'm just a regular guy. Well, I've been at the League of Cities since 2008. So I have had the pleasure of meeting countless city officials from across Iowa, doing training, doing workshops, just traveling around, going to city halls, going to council meetings. I do take this job pretty seriously. It's something I believe deeply in. I think that probably comes through when I meet folks and hopefully they walk away from those kind of gatherings understanding that the league and myself really want to support them. I mean, that's what I see our job here at the League of Cities is to help our members become successful in whatever they're trying to do in their cities. So it's like I say, I mean, I really believe this. It is our pleasure to work for city officials across the state. And again, hopefully that comes through when we talk to them.
So one of the challenges that I know that every city faces is coming up with a plan, is coming up with strategic plans and coming up with not a Dubuque because everything's perfect there, but in other cities, they have a challenge moving forward. So as your effort is to support cities, how does the League of Cities help cities get better?
Well, that's a wonderful question. And we could go a million different directions with that. And from the League of Cities,
it's a podcast. We have all the time you need.
Exactly. I blocked off several hours for this, so we're in great shape. Yeah. So we will do anything our city members really need us to do, and we do provide guidance on a daily basis. But one of the things that, when a member asks us that kind of question, we've been kind of spinning our wheels for several years, we're not making much progress, and we're not on the same page. The first thing I usually ask them is, well, when is the last time you did strategic planning or goal setting or capital improvements planning, any kind of planning whatsoever to get yourselves together and have a vision for the future? And more often than not, a city will say, oh, we did something a couple of years ago. And I'll say, well, when's the last time you looked at it? It's okay. It's one thing to do a plan. It's another thing to evaluate yourselves and see how much progress you're making. But there's other cities that will respond and say, well, I don't think we've ever done one, or I can't remember the last time we sat down as a city council and a city staff and a community and asked our citizens, what do you want us to be doing? What kind of goals do we have for our community? And it could be very project based. It could be very infrastructure based. It could be program based, all the above.
Are you talking mostly right now about small cities or not?
Well, I would say historically, yes, the smaller cities are the ones that would probably eschew doing planning. A lot of times they'd say, well, we're too small of a town. We don't need to do planning, or we don't have the resources to do it. I would also, in more recent years, say some of the larger cities are not doing planning as consistently as I would encourage them to do. And again, there's probably different reasons for that. But the one thing I always counter to some of that response back where, we're too small, we don't have not a lot going on, we only have one stoplight in town, or maybe even no stoplights in town. It's like, well, what organization would you say is successful that doesn't do planning, right? This is just a basic in life. And I understand in city government, we have limited resources, and it's hard to get different people that are elected to office, and you have changeover in elected positions and so on. But again, any successful organization, they do planning of some sort, and they build it into their culture. They build it into all their processes.
So how do you help them? I mean, you say, okay, what have you done? But then what's the next step?
Well, I just tell them good luck. No, I'm kidding. No. So then the next part is, okay, once you kind of convince them of
we should add this guy to the act, Brad. I don't know. What do you think?
I knew you'd like Mickey, Dave.
Okay.
Right. I knew you'd like him.
We've met. So you say good luck, and then?
Yeah, good luck. No, usually it's a matter of, okay, if I can detect that they're going to get serious about this, then we start pairing them up with folks who do kind of some kind of planning work, whether that's consultants. We are fortunate in Iowa to have some of our graduate schools and outreach programs at the universities that do this kind of work. So try to pair people up with consultants that really focus in on doing goal setting, strategic planning, capital improvements plans. A lot of our wonderful engineers in the state of Iowa, which the league has great partnerships with, will do that kind of work for them. So that's the next step, is to try to get them to go beyond just talking about it at the local level, bringing in that third party outside person who
is there a cost to the cities for that?
There is, yes. And that's part of the thing that we have to talk about with them. And then there's also some grant programs that we point them to that will help them do planning work and pay for it. Probably not enough to spread across the state of Iowa. We could use some more money to help cities with that. But that's also involved in the conversation.
Mayor Cavanagh, have you taken advantage of any of this from the league?
So the city of Dubuque has actually been doing its own strategic planning and goal setting sessions on an annual basis for long before I joined the city council. So I think, it's pretty well established here. And I can vouch for what Mickey's saying. I think it's the most important thing that we do. It absolutely sets the tone for how we're going to budget, what we're going to prioritize. For a city the size of Dubuque, I think it's incredibly important. But it's interesting to hear you talk about this from a smaller city standpoint. Here in Dubuque County, we have multiple different small cities that of various different sizes, a few hundred people to a few thousand people. And, when you think about the level of continuity that you need when councils change, because one of the things that happens with smaller cities, I know, is that you have staff changes a little more often. Sometimes you just don't have very many staff members there. And the idea of having continuity for the sake of the city and the residents who live there, I think, is one of the important factors in what you're talking about.
Absolutely. I mean, this is beyond the mechanics of your plan. Again, you're going to talk about infrastructure. You're going to talk about programs and services. And that's all very important things to do and talk about and plan for. The other real important value here is it gives you consistency, because every city government out there, you're going to have stuff happen. I'm not sure if to get the explicit label on this podcast, but I almost, stuff happens.
It's your podcast. You're the Iowa League. Right? It's your podcast. You can talk about whatever you want.
Right. But stuff happens in city government, and it's going to distract you from your overarching goals. You're going to have to put out fires, literally. You're going to have natural disasters occur, but you need to have that plan to get you back on the path to progress. And so that's also with election changes. You're going to have leadership changes. You're going to have new council members, new mayors who may not understand city government all that well. They may not understand what the city's been up to the past several years, but that's where you pull that plan out and say, well, this is the vision that we've set. And the thing is, all of these are living and breathing documents. You can make changes. You get new leadership in place. They say, well, I don't know why this is goal number 2 right now. Let's bump that down to number 7. And we need to push up a couple other things because those have become more critical for our community.
So some guy comes in and they want dog parks, and then the next guy comes in and they want baseball fields, but you can work with that.
Absolutely. And then ultimately, it needs to reflect what the community wants. So that's the other thing too, where it's like, if you have some real divide among these goals and priorities, especially among your elected officials. Okay, what are the citizens saying? Have we asked our citizens via a survey or a town hall or a comment box or social media, all of the above? How do we know what's most important to our residents? You're never going to have 100% agreement on anything.
Well, except in Dubuque, where everything's fine. We just are.
Exactly. Except in Dubuque, which is the value of planning, right? They've been doing planning for so many years.
Yeah.
You brought that back. Well done.
Right. Yeah.
So are there levels of planning? Because I would imagine that, especially if you're a new mayor in a small or medium sized city, but you're taking on a new role, and all of a sudden, Mickey Shields says, well, you got to have a comprehensive plan. You got to have a full plan. Are there levels like, okay, I don't need a whole comprehensive city plan, but I do need a way to make, as my example was, a new dog park. How do you assist with that, and how do you advise that kind of level of planning?
Yeah, so one of the things we do at the League of Cities is something called the Municipal Leadership Academy, which is done in 3 parts. And part 3 includes a session on strategic planning and goal setting. And one of the things I start with is, especially for the cities that are smaller in the audience, is don't worry that some 50-page document strategic planning thing, which is wonderful. A lot of the larger cities do have a very big plan when they put together their strategic planning. That doesn't have to be the case. I've literally seen cities with a 1-page goal sheet for the upcoming calendar year that has 3 goals on it. That's it. And for a very small community, that's wonderful. And the main point I'm trying to make with those folks is that is better than nothing. Even if it's something as simple as a dog park, we're going to clean up our park, we're going to improve the playground equipment. Those are the 3 goals for our next year. Great. Those are achievable goals.
And that's enough.
That's enough. That is better than always just, trying to catch your tail day to day, not knowing what's next, which is very easy to fall into as an organization.
So I was looking a little bit at the website for the Iowa League of Cities, and I saw that there are a lot of things that it seems like you do have that help. Let's talk a little bit about Local Leaders Day. You've got some coming up in April. What's that whole program, and is that part of the planning process?
Yeah. So first of all, Local Leaders Day is our big legislative event on March 4th. That's where we have city officials from across the state, including Brad, come down to Des Moines, go to the Capitol, represent cities, and rally together as a league. Then in April, which I think you're getting at, Dave, is our Municipal Leadership Academy Part 3. And that is a training series that we really designed for newly elected officials. It starts in December after the city elections. What's MLA Part 1? And then MLA Part 2 is an online training in January. And again, it's really designed for those new to office, because we know that many newly elected officials have never served in local government. They probably don't know a lot about city government, and that's okay. We understand that. So it's really building the basics for them so they can really represent their city well, and hopefully do a good job as a mayor or as a council member.
And I thought it was incredibly helpful, Dave. I just have to say, when I was a new council member, I remember very clearly going to the trainings and learning things that I had no idea I didn't know. And I was sitting with members of councils from cities large and small from across the state, because I think I actually had to travel to go to one. I think I went in Western Iowa for one because it was the one that fit my schedule that week. And it was really great to be able to sit and understand the perspective of the league, and who has been doing this work for a long time and knows the laws, knows the practices, best practices. I think the Municipal Leadership Academy was one of the most important things that I did when I was a new council member, for sure.
Tell me about City Clerk Study Hall.
Well, that's another opportunity that we have set up here recently for city clerks.
Because no one really studies to go to college to be a city clerk, do they?
No.
Right.
Well, this is part of the whole thing with like MLA too. We know that there is really no training school that anyone goes to, whether you're an elected official or an appointed staff member. A lot of this is learning on the job. And for city clerks in particular, they're kind of the hub of city government, especially in our smaller cities where there's not hardly any other staff, especially in City Hall. They're kind of on their own, and you're just expected to know it, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. And I would say for most people out there, city government is far more complex than you realize. Even in small town Iowa, the cities are doing way more than most residents realize on a day-to-day basis. And so you got to know what you're doing. There's a very technical aspects of the job. And so City Clerk Study Hall was created to just basically give an hour to city clerks of all types, whether they're veterans or new people, to just answer or ask a lot of questions. Because out of our all the city officials in Iowa, who ask the most questions, city clerks do for sure.
Yeah.
But again, that's relative to their job. There's so much going on, and they really want to do a good job. They want to do it correctly. And so that's what we're there for, is to help them out with that.
Well, Brad, when I was in Dubuque and you were showing me City Hall, I said, "Where's your office?" You went, "Yeah, I don't have an office." So are these city clerks just like kind of the boss in the building sometimes?
Well, yeah. So our situation in Dubuque, we've got a city manager, form of government. The city manager's office is the one who's there. He's in charge of City Hall. He's in charge of the staff. So I let him be in charge of that. They don't need two bosses in the same building all the time. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
But the city clerk, it is funny because, our city clerk is somebody who, she's absolutely fantastic at the job, very detail oriented, and absolutely the boss in many ways. She is the one who keeps all the records straight to be able to get the meeting going and have that meeting done in a way that is, first of all, legal, but then also, efficient and appropriate for what we need to do. And then afterwards, I even just asked her today because I went to City Hall this morning and signed everything from last night that we passed last night. And I asked her, what's your day look like today? And she was talking about how she has to basically work with every single department to get all those documents to them and make sure they're in the right place, the right time. It's a big job and bigger when the city is larger. But in a lot of small towns, Mickey, am I right that the city clerk is pretty much it when it comes to staff? In our smaller cities, it's because we have to have a city clerk in Iowa as a city. That's the one staff member you legally have to have, correct?
That is correct. Good. Your trivia. That is
I learned it at MLA.
There you go. I love the quiz people. What is the only required position you have to have in city government in Iowa? And it is the city clerk. That is in the state code. But from there, you have a lot of choice as a city government because some of our small cities, they're not open 8 to 5 every day. They might only have City Hall open 10 hours a week or something like that. But they do have a city clerk. Because somebody has to be managing all of those things, the basic things like running the council meetings and doing the minutes, but also building permits, liquor licenses, paying the bills, all that stuff, collecting payments from cities from residents for utility bills. It goes on and on and on. And so somebody's got to kind of keep an eye on everything. And for a lot of those smaller communities, it is the city clerk that's doing it all.
I wanted to talk about a couple of other workshops that I came across, the budget workshop and the small city workshops. How is this good government? How does this help plan and strategic planning?
Well, that is something the league has done for many years, well before me, since I joined here. And part of this is education, just straight education, trying to make sure that we offer opportunities for our members to get affordable education somewhere near their region, near their town. So the small city workshops, as a small city focus, we always pick different topics that are really near and dear to small cities. And then the budget workshops we host in the fall as cities begin their budget season and really try to get them the numbers they need to start their budget process. And we also talk about good budgeting tips to make sure that they're following a good process, making sure they're including the citizens in that, educating their elected officials, and then the real hard work of, okay, what kind of revenues can we expect? What kind of expenditure projections are we facing? Because those become critical as you get into the wintertime. You really got to finish up your budget.
So I was running through Cityscape magazine, which I get every month, and actually go through it. And there was a couple articles that just jumped out to me. And I think a lot of this speaks to what we've been talking about. Here are just the headlines. One was called Well-Run Council Meetings. One was Understanding Roles and Responsibilities in Municipal Government. And the other was Your First 90 Days in Office. Looks like really good material to help anybody, get in office, understand what they're doing, and more importantly, as we've been talking about, come up with a way forward.
Well, first of all, thank you for reading Cityscape.
You're welcome. There's always a nice plug for the Leading Iowa podcast, so I always make sure it's in. That. Yeah.
We do a membership survey every 2 or 3 years, and Cityscape, for every time we do a survey, it's almost always at the top of our most used resource.
Oh, good.
And so we put a lot of effort into that, and we do articles on everything in city government. And this time of year, every 2 years, we have city elections in Iowa, of course. And so this time of the year, or on the cycle, if you will, we do focus on some of this articles on like kind of new to office. How do we get started? What are the really important things to understand? And so that 90 days, the first 90 days in office is just like, okay, you just got started. You probably don't know everything yet. It's going to take you some time. Here are the things that we would say you really need to start studying. Your city code, how your council meetings are run, the rules that govern your council meetings, the rules that govern your city, the workplace policies that your city staff are working under. These are super important for a new elected official to understand. Roles and responsibilities is absolutely critical. This is important for any organization, like who does what, right? Again, if you're a brand new council member that doesn't really know city government all that well, you're going to stand around and say, well, how does things get done? Who's in charge of what? What is the public works director doing today? I have no idea. I've never even talked to that person. How do we treat the water? How do we treat the wastewater? All these things. I mean, it's just like, again, not many people really understand that until they get involved. And so that's part of what we really stress with our Cityscape articles, is trying to get that information out to people.
So as deputy director of the Iowa League, and Brad, as mayor of Dubuque, do you guys field calls regularly from people that go, I don't know what to do? Can you help me with this? I mean, is the idea to be accessible as league president and league deputy director?
Well, I'm going to defer to the elected official on the call since he faces far more random questions from the public as I do. I'm guessing. I'm pretty sure of that, Brad.
I think the nature of the calls that we get are very different, but there are all kinds of random calls that I think we're going to get. That's the similarity here. I think the calls that you're fielding, and I've heard a lot of people talk about just calling the league, and you've mentioned it sometimes too, about, there are a lot of things to have to consider when you are running a city and helping to manage everything that goes on with that. And you are kind of the clearinghouse for those questions, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. We get everything everywhere. And we do get citizen calls, too. We get state legislators who call us, just trying to get better educated, better informed about how city governments are operating or are supposed to operate. Not to mention just, all kinds of calls from our membership. And that's what we do on a day-to-day basis. Really, that's one of the best parts of the job, is trying to help people figure out how to run their towns a little bit better, understand things a little bit better, figure out what state codes govern what they can and cannot do at the local level. Really important to understand that stuff. So that's what we get. And it's very unpredictable. You kind of have to embrace that here at the League of Cities, that you may have a whole day planned out and it can quickly shift if there's something going on among the membership that you're going to get a dozen or more calls and emails about real quickly. But the thing is, I used to work for a couple of different cities, and that was the best thing about working for a city government, was you never knew what could happen any given day. Again, you kind of have to embrace that. If you're a person who just wants to sit down and have the same day every day, do to work on the same thing every day, is probably not your profession. So you got to embrace the fact that, someone can walk into City Hall and just say, you know what, this is the most important issue of the day. And you're going to have to shove aside everything else and say, yep, it is. I am going to do what you need me to do today, because that's what you need. And that's life. And that's what we do in local government. Two
other things I wanted to bring up that the Iowa League brings to the members is the Rhonda Wood Smith Award. This is for young people in office, or young people in government, right? Yeah, we've given
out the Rhonda Wood Smith Award for many years. It was an award created by former mayor, Terry Lutz, to recognize folks who are younger, entering city service, and has really stood out for what they've been doing in their communities. And I think it's really been valuable for us to recognize those folks who are on the kind of newer side of things, because we need new blood. Everybody knows that. We need change in leadership. We need folks that are younger, interested in serving their communities, because then they become the veterans who train the next generation of future public servants.
And we have to mention this year's award winner, Shelby Hagan of Bondurant, who is a 5'5" force of nature.
She is an absolute force of nature. And we mean that in the absolute most positive fashion. She is so committed to her community and to the League of Cities and to the city clerk profession. She just has so much respect from us here at the League. So she's a very well-deserving recipient last year for everything she's doing for the city of Bondurant.
And let's just talk for a moment about the All-Star Community Awards. These are really impressive projects, I've found.
Yeah, we have a heck of a time each year trying to figure out. We have an awards committee that does this. Thankfully, it's not the League staff. We don't put that pressure on ourselves. It'd be like trying to pick your favorite child. Really can't do that. And so our committee has a really tough task each year, trying to pick within each of the city. There's 3 population categories, kind of a big, medium, small, for community projects, service programs that really stand out, that really impressed our committee. And so that's just something that we really love to recognize as great work being done by our members. And that's like the highest honor we really put out there for our city members.
And coming up this year, this is the beginning of the year, but the annual conference is taking place in Bettendorf, coming up. That's in September. Bridging Cities Through Innovation and Tradition. Give us your quick elevator pitch. Why should all 850 city members attend this?
Well, it is the largest statewide conference for city officials, and we get elected officials, we get appointed staff. We have over 30 different breakout workshops, educational workshops that cover everything in our city government, whether you're a mayor or a city clerk, city administrator, there is something for you. So there's a great educational component to it. And I think everyone here at the league would argue that the networking is just as important. I can't tell you how many times I've been at the league since 2008, 17 years, 17 conferences. I actually went to the conference when I was a city official as well as a city employee. And I cannot tell you how many times people will tell us that they met somebody at our conference and they formed a relationship, and now they have constant communication, sharing ideas, sharing resources, maybe commiserating on some struggles, because it's not like Dubuque in every place where every resident's happy. And so they have a few people that
you're never going to live that down, Mr. Mayor.
Nope. That's right. And so sometimes that's what it's like too. But the networking component that's built into it is just such a huge value that you now can talk to other folks around the state that are dealing with the same pressures you are, dealing with the same challenges, and hopefully some of the same successes too.
And it's worked for me. I actually network with some of the people I've met out there. So it's been fun. Can I get a yeah, baby?
Yeah, baby. That's going to be, you're going to hear that a lot. And
all right.
I wish I had a pin around here.
That's the motto of this year's conference. All right, now we're going to get to the questionnaire that we ask all mayors. You're not a mayor, but we're gonna fly by the seat of our pants here. As you said, we've got a couple of hours to go. Right. So, what's your favorite city in Iowa? No, I'm not going to make you answer that. The first question we ask is, what makes a real Iowa city a real Iowa city?
Oh goodness, that is a really good question.
And if you have a problem with this question, you could talk to Katie Wheeler. So go ahead, answer it now.
Exactly. Yeah. What makes an Iowa city an Iowa city? I would say, without a doubt, the people. I mean, that's the number one thing that really inspires me, motivates me to this day. I've been doing this job for a long time. It's absolutely the best part of my job is meeting the people of Iowa. And I think when I go into different towns, whether it's a big city or a small town, rural, urban, any part of our state, is the warm embrace. When you're there to help, people really respect that. They welcome you with open arms. And you start off on a good foot because we all have the same interests. We want to serve our public. We want to make people's lives better. We want to make businesses operate better. We want to serve them in any way we can. And that service mindset is what comes throughout all of my travels, all of my conversations. So I think when I think about our membership, that's what I think about, that servant mindset, that we just want to make this place better. And I can talk all day long with people with that kind of mindset.
That's a pretty good answer, Mickey. Well, another thing we always want to ask, we usually ask, like, what does good government look like in whatever your city is for the folks that we're talking to? But, we're called Leading Iowa, good government in Iowa cities. When you think about good government in Iowa, what are some of the most important things for you right now that you think we need to all focus on to make sure that good government is the goal and the end result?
Yeah. I mean, the number one thing for me always is talking to your citizens, getting citizen input, however that you can, which things have changed. Obviously, social media has completely changed the game when it comes to citizen engagement. And it's tough. We know that there's some good sides to social media. There's some bad sides to it. It's definitely made the job harder in some ways, but you got to do it. But I don't care whether there's social media, the old school coffee meetings, but you got to talk to your public. Everything you do has got to be reflective of what your public is wanting, supporting, demanding, let's be honest, all the while knowing that you're not going to get 100% support. You're going to make some tough decisions as a city council. This is why we have city councils. This is why we have elections. This is why we have a democracy. You're trying to find the compromise and represent the most people you can and do the best for the most people that you can. But it all starts there. It all starts with talking to your public, understanding what they need. The other thing that I always talk about too is leadership. You've got to have people that take their leadership responsibilities seriously. And just because you got elected doesn't mean that you're an effective leader yet. This is why we have classes. This is why we have our annual conference. We're trying to develop your leadership skills in addition to your education of city government, because you're going to be put on the spot. You're going to be challenged. You're going to have difficult conversations. And it's not natural to everybody to be a leader, even though you got elected. And that's one of the things we talk about MLA. Welcome to city government. By the way, you're now a leader of your city, whether you like it or not, whether you see yourself as a natural born leader or not, you are now a leader in your community. And with leadership comes a lot of responsibilities and a lot of challenges. So let's talk about it, let's get ready for it, and let's improve upon it.
So we ask mayors about a good government project in their city, but tell me about some of the good government projects that the league has actually been helpful in, getting off the ground or, steering in the right direction.
Well, yeah, I go back to our discussions we have and training we have on strategic planning and goal setting. Because that's just so critical for everyone out there to part of being a good leader and eventually having a good government is having a forward thinking mindset that we got to tackle today's issues, but at the same time, we got to be thinking about the future, because that'll lead to efficiency. That'll lead to a better budget. That'll lead to a better use of your resources. Ultimately, that should lead to a better tax rate. Let's be honest. Let's get right to the point. When you are inefficient, when you don't have a good plan, you don't have a vision for the future, all of the opposite happens. And that's going to lead to dysfunction and turmoil. So that's what going kind of circling all the way back to the start of this is why planning and goal setting is so important. Again, I just can't harp on it enough. Good government is reflective of your community and what community values, what people will support, what they won't support. And so part of it has got to be having an open mindset and inviting people in, all people from your community. I know it's very easy for cities to have a council meeting and the same 2 people show up or the same 10 people show up. And it's the only people you ever hear from if you don't try. If that's what you're relying on for citizen input, you're not doing enough, quite frankly. You've got to get people more involved. The council meeting is just one opportunity. There should be much more efforts made to get people to share their thoughts and their wisdom with you. Again, even the critical stuff, you got to welcome that. You got to have an open mind and say, okay, maybe we're not doing things as effectively as we possibly can. And sometimes that's coming from the outside, the public, so to speak. That's not really the outside, but from your citizens, and said, okay, I might not agree with them, but it's at least looking under the hood and seeing if there is a better way of doing something.
All great points. All right, Mickey. Well, I am going to put you on the spot because we always ask somebody, what's your favorite place in the city where you are? So I'm going to ask it in a different way for you. You are in a unique position. You are one of those people in Iowa who's traveled probably to most corners of our state in your time at the league. So you've seen all that our state has to offer. And I'm curious, what are some of your favorite places in Iowa or some of your favorite things about what you've seen in Iowa? I'm really letting you off the hook here, just so you know.
You really let him off the hook with the last one there.
Very Iowa nice of you, Mayor Cavanagh. Appreciate that. Because yes, this is another, like what I'll say, League of Cities. We love all of our city children the same. They're all wonderful in their own way. I have to start with Northeast Iowa, Dubuque. I know I'm placating you a little bit here, but
it's totally fine with me.
Yeah, I absolutely love the Dubuque area. My family does as well. The Driftless region in general, Northeast Iowa, and maybe even a little bit into Wisconsin, let's be honest. It's just an absolutely beautiful area. We go up there for vacations every summer as a family and have made some great memories. And the one thing we do spend some time up in Devil's Lake, Wisconsin. Sorry, I know it's leaving the state for a minute, but when we come back, we take Highway 151 and we come back and there's like a little kind of look on the Wisconsin side looking over into Dubuque. And there's something that really makes me feel warm and good because the city looks so good on the river. And I know I'm coming back home when I kind of make that turn and can see that through the bluffs. Yeah, it's just a beautiful area. Yeah, there's so many places. How much time do we have? I mean, there's so many wonderful places.
Well, we're going to cut it off before we get into our second hour, but you can keep going.
Right. I mean, there's too many places in it to list. I love it all.
You're fine with the mayor if you stop right there, by the way.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Got to keep the mayor happy. But it is honest. It's there. I love that area. And the other thing I just say more generally across the state, the Iowans really embraced their roots, their history, and the local festivals show that. I always kind of get a chuckle in a kind of proud way of the town festivals. They some of them are kind of Norwegian based or German based or corn days or whatever. There's all these such home based things that are just so near and dear to that community. And I just think it's so cool that people keep those traditions going and just really lean into it and make it their own. And that's just something that, again, it makes me always smile. Very proud of them.
Well, I'll tell you my great Iowa story. I went to Brooklyn, Iowa, because I live in Brooklyn, New York. So I had to stop in, and I went to the city diner, and I'm sitting there at the counter, and I ordered my smothered pork chop dinner because that's what one eats in Iowa. And the woman came over, and I said, I'm from Brooklyn, New York. She said, you're from Brooklyn, New York. This is Brooklyn, Iowa. I said, I know. Every single person in the diner came over, said hello, welcomed me, told me about the flags, told me about John Wayne's birthplace house, and everybody there said, oh, they were so excited somebody from Brooklyn, New York had stopped into Brooklyn, Iowa. So that's my Brooklyn story.
And then it's such an Iowa story, Dave. I just love that story every time you tell it.
Yes, I'm sorry. Brad's heard it a few times. Mickey Shields, you are the Deputy Director of the Iowa League of Cities. It is a pleasure having you on. I look forward to seeing you this September when we gather at the annual conference in Bettendorf. So thanks for that. As always, Brad, thank you for joining me here on Leading Iowa.
That was great, Dave. Thanks for coming, Mickey.
Thank you both.
Good government in Iowa cities. See you next month. Now that you've listened to Leading Iowa, Good Government in Iowa Cities, make sure you listen to The Good Government Show, another show from Valley Park Productions. On The Good Government Show, I talk with mayors, commissioners, and leaders from across government about what works. We talk about what government means and how we can get the best out of government. So join me right here where you're listening now to The Good Government Show. That's our show. Thanks for listening. Join us again right here for the next episode of Leading Iowa, Good Government in Iowa Cities. Make sure you like us and share us with your friends. Follow us on Facebook. Leading Iowa is a Valley Park production in association with the Iowa League of Cities. The show is executive produced by Katie Wheeler and Brad Cavanagh for the Iowa League of Cities. Jim Ludlow, Dave Martin, that's me, and David Snyder are executive producers for Valley Park Productions. Our show is edited and produced by Jason Stershic.